It's the 22nd day of March, 2015, and this is The Radical Agnostic. Broadcasting from the frontiers of the nation and sanity itself, Tucson, Arizona. I'm John. Co-hosts are Mark and Bryan. Mark, it's good to have you back, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know you were not here last week because you wouldn't go on the air without an 8-ball and a Thai lady boy.
And your guest wouldn't. I thought would arrest me.
Yeah.
It's not the 8-ball, it's the Thai lady boy.
That's what I had trouble getting.
Yeah.
But I got it this week, so he's locked up in the bathroom. Bryan, you're my co-host. Good to have you here, man. Always a pleasure.
Thanks. I feel like more of a stowaway guest, though. Like
guest.
I just came on and wouldn't leave. Like I had fun. It's good. I'm glad to be back.
You somehow produced a microphone and headphones. Thanks to Kevin Ketchum.
Thanks.
And our guest today. He's a father, an athlete, and a business owner. A man as intellectually stimulating as he is physically imposing. Black by popular demand. It's Big Keith Jeffery, everybody. What's up, Keith?
I am here, guys.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone.
It's great to have you, man. I met Keith working at Tucson Medical Center at the psych hospital. It's got to happen.
First guest knocked over the shot glass. Sorry, guys.
It's going to be a great show.
Let's blow the doors off this bitch.
Yeah, let's do that. And also, we're going to talk about prison, mass incarceration, racism, pretty much every side of that issue that we can get our hands on, the war on drugs, all kinds of stuff. But first, let's introduce the world to who you are, Keith. I mean, where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Los Angeles, California, to a black man and a black woman that produced a black kid, and rather large one. And our family moved us to Fresno, California, because they thought they were escaping the gang violence in Los Angeles. Little did they know, it just out of the skillet into the frying pan with saute.
Was that something like technically a suburb?
Yeah, well, it's about 220 miles from L.A., but the gang problem was awful.
Worse?
Yeah. My family was heavily involved in gangs, and basically it just lent itself to indoctrinating us into the gang lifestyle at an early age. Maybe 12, I was really it was a very, very, very negative lifestyle. However, it looked awesome because of all the things that went along with it. Nothing says I want to raise positive kids like having a 12-year-old, watching you cook crack in the kitchen, So
and you were a big dude, so you probably looked older than 12. So you were already
At 12 years old, I was about 6 feet 230.
Okay.
Yeah. At 12.
What initially drew you to it? Was it like, did you look to these guys as role models? Was it that like the lure of some easy money? Did you not have the things that you wanted, or what do you think drew you to it initially?
Well, I came from two working people. My dad was a truck driver. My mom was a RN.
So it wasn't for want of
No,
things.
it was not. It was just my mom's family was heavily involved.
Really?
So it just was kind of natural that you would go down that way,
Economically, you were probably better off than a lot of the people in that
Absolutely.
neighborhood.
It was the beginning of the crack epidemic.
Crack epidemic. That's something we're going to get into because a lot of people say that the drug war, the war on drugs that was started by Richard Nixon, is a racist war. So on the left, you hear that. This is a racist war. And when I heard that, I was pretty confused by that statement because it almost sounded like a racist statement to say that if we're cracking down on drugs, then we're cracking down on black people because black people are the ones doing the drugs. But that's not actually what they mean when they say that.
Right.
What they mean is that the illegality of certain drugs historically goes back to racist ideas and policies. So you had heroin in the turn of the century was the first drug to become illegal. Well, I guess it was opium, but it was Chinese people who were building the railroads and everything over in San Francisco, and they would do opium as a part of their culture. And so they were saying, oh, the Chinese people are dragging the white women into these opium dens and raping them, and this familiar refrain of protecting the white women. And so opium was the first drug to be made illegal. And then with cocaine in the 20s and 30s, that was next, and that was attributed to black culture. And they said, there's black people running amok downtown on cocaine. And then later it was marijuana, which was connected with the Mexicans.
Reefer madness.
Actually, the cocaine thing didn't translate. Cocaine was different than crack. You have to take into account
definitely
that
was the 80s, right?
Yes,
okay.
that there was a fellow by the name of Ricky Ross in L.A. Freeway Rick Ross, absolutely, that pioneered the crack cocaine epidemic, which basically wreaked havoc on our communities. However, it wasn't the first. That's kind of a farce in regards to
Is this the guy who ended up writing a book? Was he a Crip?
Yes, he went to Crip? No,
I don't know.
No, that you're talking about Tookie Williams.
Okay, yeah. All right. Got my guys mixed up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, but this dude wrote a book too?
Yes, Rick Ross. Actually, there is a rapper named Rick Ross that kind of borrowed the name. Mm-hmm. I think he had to give it back just recently. Yeah. And so
Freeway made, we're talking like hundreds of millions in the crack game. And what crack, of course, is just you just mix cocaine with baking soda and what's that?
And rock it up.
You turn it into rocks, and then you can smoke it, and it's much stronger, more immediate effects than sniffing cocaine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But a statistical fact is that crack is there's a sentencing disparity between crack and cocaine, and it's 100 to 1. So for every one prosecution or sentencing for cocaine, there's 100 for crack, and really
also the punishment is more severe.
That's right. So this is what they're talking about.
Which one did Robert Downey Jr. get busted for?
All of them.
All of them. Okay. All right, good.
And I think he had something up his butt, too.
Yeah.
But
it was Gwyneth Paltrow. She's out.
Let's get back to the story, though, of you growing up, because I'm kind of stuck to my outline. I'm not versatile enough to skip ahead to other subjects.
You're a very well-rounded person.
Oh, thank you, sir.
John. However, so back to my history.
So football is, I've heard you say it before, you've talked about it as a way out.
Absolutely. Coming from where I came from, we had great athletes. Just on my block alone, we had like top of the level basketball, football, baseball players. We didn't really see education as a way out. We saw football, basketball, baseball, entertainment, singing, rapping, dancing as the primary objective to get out of our situation.
Yeah, and that is the objective, right? Like people want to get out of that gang situation because you just kind of see that your days are numbered, right?
Absolutely.
You're not going to make it very long. There's another thing that comes up in the literature, which is that black parents often are in these studies are found encouraging the kids or not discouraging them from dropping out of school. And one explanation for that was, well, you don't understand what the schools are like here. So the school is kind of like a social club for the gangs.
Absolutely.
So did you find that to be true?
I found that to be absolutely true. There were certain people that were there to try to create a stopgate, and that was the PE teacher. Obviously, he would be the head football coach.
Right.
There were certain people, from our community that tried to steer us towards athletics. However, I didn't envision playing football. I just envisioned being a thug, just running amok in my community, wreaking, extreme havoc. However, I realized early that I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and it was football. So I was able to, it didn't stop me initially. However, I did go to the California Youth Authority for 30 months as a kid for a gang-related shooting.
Juvie?
No, this is basically junior prison. This was Carl Holden School for boys.
Did you get the tattoo in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still carry a little bit of that with you.
Yes, I
Which
I
tattoo
have
is that?
I have a Crip tattoo on my thigh that I wanted to cover it up lots of times, but I just chose to keep it as a
Part of your history.
as a reminder.
Yeah.
I am heavily tattooed, not as much as Bryan Richter.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, you got more area.
He's the illustrated man.
Yeah.
Wait till Ray comes on here, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has any blank skin left.
His face.
His face, yeah.
And his knuckles.
So, but I mean, a young black person has a better chance even of becoming a doctor, or a surgeon, or a successful writer than they do of becoming a professional athlete. So, there's a kind of a paradox here, because athletics did work for you; it got you out of that
Absolutely
situation. But do you recommend that as the path that other young people should take?
I absolutely do not.
Right.
As a parent, I have a 6-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son, and I see that, what was lacking in my upbringing was appropriate modeling of behaviors in the home.
Yeah.
My dad was a truck driver, so he wasn't always there, and I didn't get the guidance. All the guidance that I received as a child was negative guidance. Like, if you want to make some money, this is how you can do it.
Right.
And I can help you for a cut. So basically, there was nothing positive,
Do you remember looking up to any media figures like a Bill Cosby or anything at that time? TV actors, intellectuals.
That was saw as not obtainable to kids that came from where I came from.
I got a 2-part question. Like, one, who was it that first got you to see football as a possible way out? And piggybacking off John's earlier question, do you think that athletics still would have worked for you? Because there's a lot of other positive things that you get out of athletics. It's not just a contract. Like, I never got a contract, but I got a lot of things. I feel like from playing sports,
confidence, just physical health.
Absolutely.
But do you think that athletics would have worked to get you focused and to get you motivated to have a different life than the gang life if you hadn't been physically gifted and good? If you were just a fucking average player who wasn't going to go to a major college?
No.
So
there's a luck element.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you worked hard to play college football.
Absolutely.
Right, but you can't teach 6'7", 300 pounds. You can't teach that.
Right.
You just fucking you are that or you're not that.
Right. Part of the issue was growing up, you had to get to school, So from my house, you could get killed on your way to school. So that was a real. It was a possibility every single day. So
it's almost better to. I mean, if you're doing organized sports, that's a more controlled environment. It gets you away from the school environment, which itself can be dangerous, harmful.
To add another layer onto that, when you get involved in football, and I believe this right to this day, I think it is physically, emotionally, and socially impossible. It makes it impossible to racially hate another person, regardless of their race. Once you run, hit, tackle, sweat, win, lose, laugh, and cry with that person on a football field, you cannot hate them. It is impossible.
That's a great point.
Unless you're Bill Romanowski. Then you were forged in the fires of hate, and it's all good.
Absolutely. I loved him, though.
Dude was an animal.
So part of that issue, which gave me a broad spectrum of self-worth, of the meaning of team, was being able to go on this football field and I'm counting on the other 4 offensive linemen to do their jobs. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about who I was, and I learned a lot about who I didn't want to be through athletics. Mm-hmm. I have a tattoo on my stomach that says football saved my life. And it absolutely is true. I hear people say, well, no, Keith, you're a smart guy. None of that was possible without football, because I thought I would be dead by 20 before I found football.
So again, who was it? A specific person that opened your eyes to it, that
Absolutely.
like kind of mentored you? So who you want to shout
There
that
was
guy out?
Two people. Tony Perry, he was a great football player in my community, and Tony Taylor, which was kind of my personal. He was my confidant. He actually found a lot of kids places to go after high school.
So how did you come in contact with these guys?
He saw me. I was standing out on the corner. I had a pocket full of crack. I had a 45 llama that would jam after every 3 or 4 shots, but it was pretty much all I had. And he pulled over to the side of the road. I would never forget this. He had a gray Astro van, and he said, "You are massive. Why are you not on somebody's football field?"
Right.
And I remember right to this day, I said, "Man, fuck that shit." I said, "I'm gonna get money or die."
Right.
And that was it. And he said, "I'm going to come see you tomorrow." He said, "Are you going to be here?" I was like, "Unless I'm dead." So he came by the next day.
You sold him a 20 rock? And
No. He
I'm just
actually
kidding.
said I could not. That's hilarious. He actually said, so you have to go back in the house and put your gun away, and you have to take the crack out of your pocket because you can't get in my car with that. And he said, "If you're willing to do that, I'm willing to talk to you."
What grade were you in?
I was a freshman.
Okay.
I was a freshman in high school, and he just grabbed me and he wouldn't let me go.
So over the next 4 years, you rapidly increased your talent and skill to the point where you were able to go to Boise State. Is that right?
Yes. Well, actually, I only made it to the 10th grade, and then I caught my case.
Okay. Right.
So when I got to the youth authority, I was serving a 2 to 7 for a gang-related shooting, and I actually honed my skills while I was in Carl Holden School. Well, the day I got out, he was at my house waiting for me, and he said, "Keith, I have somewhere I want to take you. I have someone I want you to meet. His name is Al Baldock. He's the head football coach at Taft College." So I tried to make every excuse in the world why I couldn't go that day. And every excuse I made, they had a counter. I said, "Well, I don't have clothes." He says, "Well, we're going to take you shopping on your way."
Right.
I said, "Well, I don't have a TV." "Well, I have one in the back of the van." "Well, I need a VCR." "Well, I have one of those too." I was like, "Well, I haven't seen my homies. I just got out today. I need to touch the street, I need to rub the block a little bit." And he told me, "No, that's not possible." He said, "This is your only opportunity. I will not offer you this again. Get in the van."
One of those split-second decisions that
Absolutely.
changes your life.
I got in the van, John.
Did.
And
So
My
they
life
had an
changed.
athletics program at the youth authority?
absolutely.
Well, that's cool.
Absolutely. Now, you're talking about a team full of all-American caliber athletes. When I was on the yard, I played football with, I think there was at least 10 pro caliber athletes on that team, on one team.
Damn.
And a lot of those guys didn't make it. They got out of the youth authority and got killed. Different things. I was actually one of the more famous rappers on the West Coast. His name was Sibo. I was on his unit, and he made it big. Multiple platinum albums. So as you can see, nobody ever pushed education to us. They only pushed, if you want to hustle, you better make as much money as you can and buy a car wash. I don't know why it was always a fucking car wash, or a laundromat.
Yeah.
Because those were
Cash
things.
business.
Yeah.
You can keep doing your dirty. right?
Absolutely. So there was never.
Money laundering.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can keep
More
doing
than
your
panties
dirty.
went in those washing machines.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So part of those issues were, we just didn't have a lot of positive outlets. I will say there's a guy named Antoine Few. He was a great football player, an even better person. I'm still friends with him right to this day. When he went to Taft College, I realized, wow, he just went to college. I saw this guy every day.
Right.
So when he went to Taft, I realized, well, it is obtainable. I can do this.
So did you get a scholarship?
I got a scholarship to go to Taft. I graduated with my associates in 3 semesters, 20 units, 20 units, 20 units, banged it out.
Wow.
I found that I did not want to go back to my neighborhood. So I want to say this. If anybody says they don't want to leave the hood, they're full of fucking shit.
No one
They're
wants to
full
die.
of they're full of shit.
Yeah.
The best thing a person told me, the best thing you can do, Keith, in this neighborhood is leave it.
Well, I think that mentality goes back to what we talked about on an earlier show. Like you draw a certain part of your identity from the hood. So when somebody says, "Oh man, I want to get out of the hood," you take it personal. Like, "Oh, that's your neighborhood. That's where you came up." But it's
But also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, but there's a fear leaving the hood, and to do something, legitimate in society. There's a big fear about that because you haven't been involved in that area of things before, right? Like to me, going to college was just like a natural thing. I'd been in academic environments for my whole life, a middle class suburb and everything. But for someone who's growing up with violence and guns all around their life and friends dying, I mean. You got to kind of feel like I don't belong there in this an academic institution or environment, and it's got to be kind of frightening. Like you said, you made all those excuses.
Absolutely,
it was fear. That's just basic fear.
It was fear of failure.
Right.
However,
go ahead, Mark.
I'm sorry.
And humans are just scared to change to begin with,
and to challenge themselves,
and challenge themselves
because
and whenever you're in, no matter what you're in, how bad of a situation is, you get used to it. And,
absolutely,
that's just normalcy.
You have friends. You know the names of the people. You know how these interactions between people work.
Absolutely.
Boy, that's so true. What you just said too, that you get used to it. I mean, like reading Elie Wiesel's Night, and even being in Auschwitz-Birkenau. Like he developed the routine. Like he got used to it.
I mean, you talk to women that get
how crazy is that? Yeah,
relationships or whoever,
and people who get institutionalized in prison.
Right. They want to go back.
Or psych hospitals.
Right, absolutely.
So even more frightening than physical harm and harm to yourself is
fear of something different.
Fear of something new and challenging that you'll fail at.
Well, a lot of people that came from where I come from were never challenged in regards to higher education. The only challenge that you had to conquer was when I stepped foot out of this door, I could not come back tonight. And I was okay with that. As a 14-year-old, I knew somebody could blow my brains out tonight, so I'm going to ride this shit out. Now, obviously, when I found football, I was able to have, all different color teammates, which I was interested, like, where do you go after practice?
Yeah.
I mean, I asked a friend of mine that played with me at Edison High School, so what do you do after practice? Because,
white guy?
Yeah. So I said, well, my primary objective is to go take this $100, get $200 worth of crack, flip that. Now I got 200. So when I come back to school tomorrow, I'm gonna have $200,
right.
And then I'm gonna go find another person. I'm gonna flip this $200. I'm gonna have $400. Hopefully by the end of the week, I got $1,000.
And what did he say?
He was like, I'm going to go to my sister's, and she has gymnastics. I was like, oh, wow, I've never saw that. He was like, you want to go? I'm like, hell yeah.
Nice.
So there's a certain fear. Now, on a side note, I had friends of mine that that were born, lived, and died in a 20-block radius.
Right.
Never left the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Never saw anything, never got on the freeway. Imagine that, John. You growing up and never once getting on the freeway.
I know cats that live their whole life in Sierra Vista, never been to the Grand Canyon.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my dad was a truck driver, so he took us to all types of places. And our reward at the end of the school year was, if you get straight A's, I'll take you on the road with me for 4 weeks for summer. I was like, what? I was like, I'm there.
That's awesome.
Banged it out.
Yeah.
Straight A's, I went on the road. We went to like 13 states. It was awesome. So I was able to see other things. So when the time came for me to either shit or get off the pot, in regards to my future, I wasn't afraid I was afraid. However, I was willing to take that risk. When I went to Taft College, I was fresh out of the youth authority. I did 30 months.
And this is the familiar refrain you get from successful people. Like I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast all the time, and he has a lot of successful comedians and actors on there. And his advice, and all of their advice, is always, take that risk. Go out there, put yourself on the line and take a risk. Quit your job, do this stuff. But and it's true. They're right that you have to do that if you're going to achieve a high level of success. But on the other hand, isn't it kind of like someone who won the lottery telling everyone else, you guys got to take that risk, play the lottery. You got to pay that money.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of paradoxical because it's
Absolutely.
like, yeah, they made it, but the world is a graveyard of the countless millions who didn't make it.
Yeah.
Well,
but they're also right. You're not gonna get it if you don't take the risk. So
right.
I'm not.
My dad would always say, he said, son, shoot for the stars, because the worst case, you'll fucking shoot out the streetlights.
Oh yeah.
At least fire the gun.
Something.
He said, fire the gun. That was A huge thing with my dad was at least pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Try something else. He said, do you want to die standing out here? Do you want me to get the phone call that somebody just killed your son?
Right.
So I understood that. I took that chance. But after I found football, it was more relevant to try something else. So once you find success, now I found success early in athletics. And when I went to Taft, I got a scholarship to go to Boise State.
Right.
So then my world opened up because you have this black kid from Fresno, California, predominantly black, and you drop him in Boise, Idaho.
I never thought of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So not only was it culture shock, but it was tons of chicks. I was like, wow. So, this is awesome. So I get to play football and I get to bang lots of
Do you
chicks.
remember the first thing I ever said to you?
Yes. I met Bryan. Sorry to jump topics, but
Go ahead.
Bryan is, back up a little bit, he is the best man at my wedding. I love this dude. And I first met him my second job in Arizona. I walk in and he was like, yeah, we got this big athlete guy, and we start talking about teams, and I show him my Dallas Cowboys tattoo, and a small white guy says to me, he was like, I can help you fix that.
even before that, though, when you told me you were from Boise, I asked you if the other black guy was mad that you left.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that set our relationship up. I was like, this guy right here, does he have no fear? He doesn't even know me yet. He's a small guy. Now, this is pre-jiu-jitsu. So I would approach Bryan a little differently now. I know what I'm up against.
That was pre-jiu-jitsu, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
It seems like another life.
I remember because I was lucky enough to be at your wedding also, and we were in the hotel room before, and I think I was still a white belt, but I was like, I can hold you in side control to Keith. I was like, so we actually. I guess we were already...
did we try this?
We were already shit-faced enough. Yes, we did.
Keith, I must have been. I have zero memory of this.
Keith laid down and let me get on top in side control, and I got the shoulder control around his head, and I grabbed his pants or something, and I was just locking down. And I was still 150 pounds at this point. And I just thought my 6 months of jiu-jitsu had prepared me for this, and he kind of just picked me up and threw me over. It wasn't... Everyone laughed. There was much hilarity.
Yeah, size doesn't matter is largely a myth.
I have to say, though, obviously this is a no-holds-barred show, but that was a monumental smoke-out at my wedding.
It was.
Monumental. I tell people about it. I don't think you can get the full gist of the smoke-out, the pre-wedding smoke-out, unless you were in the room.
I think you could get it all the way down
yeah.
the hall. Actually, it was down to the elevators, man.
Got you.
It was in any other town we got arrested that day.
The old ladies in the elevator on that floor were probably intoxicated.
I never had so many people at a hotel ask me if they are y'all at that party? Yeah. Are y'all at that party?
Yeah. So you have strong opinions about welfare. I mean, you come at it from definitely a minority position among the black community because you're very much opposed to it. Now,
absolutely,
the conservative view on welfare is that look,
oops.
Let's just say the liberal view on it is look. Yes, some people abuse it. Some people get addicted to it or whatever, but it also helps some people. It feeds people who need food. The conservative view is really that it doesn't help anyone because they say that handouts or corporate or welfare from the government is addictive. It causes a dependence.
Absolutely, I still think it's bad. Yeah. Now, here's my take because I catch a lot of flack from black people.
Right.
I'm black. I'm educated. I'm married. But my father. And, he instilled this in us. And my father said, never accept any handout. And secondly, he said, the last thing you ever want to hear is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
So, that's a good point.
So imagine hearing this as a child and having it drilled into you.
Right.
So my father was a hardworking man. And he also said, 250 years ago, if you didn't get off your sorry ass and work, you and your family starved to death. So does anybody at this table disagree with that? 250 years ago, if you did not work and provide for your family, was there any safety net for you?
Well, a lot of places it's still like that. So
okay, so
maybe at church. I mean, if you were dying,
that's the reason I feel the way I feel. I saw food stamps. I saw TANF. I saw all these things abused as a child.
Yeah.
My father was one of the people that would stand outside the grocery stores and buy food stamps 2 for $1 because he was financially able to do it. So
now let's say hypothetically that that you're right, and they take these programs away. Wouldn't that be? Let's say you're right that it causes a dependence.
Right.
Wouldn't that withdrawal, the social withdrawal of that be disastrous?
I don't believe so. I believe that a mother and a father that is in the house with their children, if they no longer received a welfare check, they would find a way to feed their kids,
now,
be it legal or illegal. However, I think when you give someone something, it decreases their drive to go get it themselves. So now I've changed my position on this, John, and I want you to be clear that I didn't realize how huge corporate welfare was.
Yeah, and you're an excellent guest for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that I've seen you shift your views. So
Absolutely.
You'll have strong views, but when new information comes to the table, you're totally ready
particularly on this issue.
So a lot of people you were speaking out against individual welfare.
Right.
And then some people were saying, look, the government spends at least double on corporate subsidies.
Well, you largely have put that drum away, though, right? You're not
Absolutely.
really beating that individual welfare drum anymore since you got more informed about the corporate welfare.
It was just basically a lack of information. However, I did not do the research myself until recently. And I think for a person to only get 2 or 3 talking points just to argue their point is ignorant. You have to take the book open the book, go from front to back, and then formulate your opinion in regards to factual information.
Definitely.
So my idea of welfare wasn't initially, it was fault finding, not fact finding. Well, once I found the facts that Walmart, now they're on my radar because the top 50 richest people in the world, there's 6 Waltons.
Yeah.
6.
Yeah,
so
monster company.
So when you have a company like Walmart that's receiving $4 billion a year in corporate welfare, if you don't open your eyes, you're going to fall or you're going to get hit by something.
Now, conservatives say, look, welfare to individuals is just harmful. It's just going to cause abuse. But welfare to corporations, these businesses are important to this country. They provide jobs and they inject money into the economy. So don't we want to entice them to operate here by keeping corporate taxes lower?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, GE, which is TMC's partner company, they made like $14.3 billion. They paid not a dime in taxes.
Right.
We're partnered with GE. We got no raise, no employee bonus, no nothing.
Mark?
But they made 14.3 with no taxes.
Yeah, and
billion.
I mean, even if you're conservative and you're against individual welfare and you're for the corporate welfare and say it's going to create jobs and blah, 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 whatever, then why wouldn't you also be saying, well, so what we should do instead of individual welfare is invest in the communities and give to these black communities, a certain amount of money, and then they can create jobs in their communities, and the same sort of thing of what you're arguing is why you give welfare to the corporations. So, but they don't. So it's to me, it's just hypocritical, and that's the reason that it's wrong. Not because of the actual issue, but you're hypocritical in your logic.
Right.
But what is at the base of this conservative position? Is it racism? I don't think so. It's got to be something else. Why are they so...
Most people that I know that are against it is because they see it as misusing funds or wasting tax dollars. Mm-hmm. But then they don't see the corporate welfare side.
Absolutely.
They don't know about that.
Right.
So
also, one of the big stories now that we're looking at in Arizona is the cuts, the massive cuts to education, which I keep hearing is so that we can give corporations tax breaks to come here and
yeah, we were on the short list for the Tesla Gigafactory where the Tesla car company is going to be making their batteries, and
that pissed me off.
It ended up
we didn't even get a shot.
Nah.
We didn't even get a real shot to get the company here.
No, but did we get our education budget gutted in the process of that? Was that part of our campaign? Like, here, you can have this money that we were going to use to like teach our youth, but
as far as I
come
know,
build a car.
And they took like 500,000 people off Medicaid too.
Right. Oh, okay. Thank you very much for saying that. Childless adults. this really bothered me. Now, I currently work in mental health. I work at the Crisis Response Center as a Title 36 specialist. However, and I do own my own company, but I'll get to that later. However, when you take a childless adult that is dependent, not even dependent, but just that it's a necessity that this person gets their medication to remain, lucid, to remain functional in our community, and you just hammer this population of people, what does that say about us as a whole? So I am absolutely against taking people's benefits. Now you have to understand where I come from, John. I was against any form of government funded handout, medication, all these things, until I realized what the fuck I was saying. Like, are you crazy? But that goes back to,
there's certain people, there's always that.
Now, I don't do Fox News. However, I try to see both sides of the argument. But when you realize that you are hammering one specific population, you have to take a step back and say, are we doing the best to create a livable society? I'm not talking about a great society. I'm talking about a society that's livable for people.
Where everyone is at least okay.
Right.
They got the bare minimum.
It goes back to the whole welfare thing. 28% of welfare benefits go to black people. So when you hear people say, and I had to be educated, guys, and I had to swallow my pride and do the research, 44% of all welfare benefits go to white people. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of say
more than any other
absolutely
group, right?
So you can't just brush it with a broad stroke and say black people manipulate the system to increase their net worth through welfare. That's a farce. That's not true.
Yeah, well, just the idea that you can increase your net worth through welfare is kind of funny.
Right.
While we have the Koch brothers on the other end just fucking raping the entire planet.
Right, absolutely.
This person on welfare is taking a hit.
There's that other statistic floating around too, that with individual welfare, every dollar that the government gives to the individuals,
most of it goes to the system, not any individual.
Well, supposedly $1.8 goes back into the economy for each dollar. And I tried to look that up today and understand the mechanics of that, but
if they get $100 in welfare, they go buy $200 in crack, and then they
yes,
hey,
he's not bullshitting.
Crack is the cure.
That is real.
That is real. It's economics,
right? Absolutely. I've seen people flip their welfare check. Now this is listen, he's not bullshitting.
Yeah.
I saw a person. These people will remain nameless. However, I saw a person get their welfare check. This is as a young person. They got $465. They cashed their welfare check, and in a week, they had $10,000.
Right.
So
how do you? And when you're in that community, that's another thing. How do you turn down that kind of money, that kind of return on investment?
You don't.
No, I'll go get a job at Walmart,
right?
For $8 an hour
for $7.59.
Which is basically indentured servitude.
Well, you turn that money down if you've been dropped on your head too many times,
right?
And then you believe the government lie.
Yeah,
right. Absolutely. So, part of that thing is, that it's just us, and I don't believe that it's just us.
Definitely not.
But on another note, the whole idea that there's a population of people that want to be on welfare, I don't believe that that's true. I believe that I'm a well-rounded person. I believe that I know poor people, I know rich people, I know in between. And I don't believe that people wake up saying, it's kind of like what you guys said on the last podcast. No police officer wakes up and says, you know what? I'm going to fucking go kill a black guy today. I'm going to whack these motherfuckers today.
Right.
Today it's open season on Blackie.
No, I can see that.
I don't think I don't think that's real.
I would have to agree with you, because I think even if you are on welfare and you're kind of okay with it, I mean, I think a lot of times that's like a product of the environment, a complacency. It's happening. I don't know what else to do. I don't have any other skills, because we talked about the situation with schools and
this goes right into another epidemic in the black community, and that's single parent households. Now, one aspect of that, this goes right into the topic of mass incarceration, because if you have approximately 1 in 3 young black men will either go to prison or be on probation. So in some ways, in some way incarcerated, either financially or
That is real.
That statistic is incredible. I mean, those numbers are, I mean, they're horrific. 1 in 3, approaching 1 in 2 also. So
Right.
these are for every black man that's in prison, that guy isn't with his kids
Absolutely.
at home. And when he gets out, he's a felon.
Right.
So he's not going to get a job. He can't vote.
Right.
He can't get a job. So does this guy feel part of his community? Does this guy feel part of the USA? So when you got a lot of single mother households, welfare becomes
Real.
a real option.
Right.
I mean, if you have several kids and a woman and your education is subpar, what are you going to do? I mean, I can barely, I work from home and I feel like, oh, I'm tired at the end of the day. Like,
Right.
I'm not going out there like with 3 jobs and then like taking college classes at night.
Well,
John,
John,
if you do that, if you do that and you're a single mother, then your kids are home alone.
Right.
And they're getting involved in gangs.
Right.
absolutely.
It's a
That
vicious
whole
cycle.
latchkey
However,
kids thing.
I
from
do
the
want to play
80s.
devil's advocate, John, just
Please.
real quickly.
Please.
I don't want to leave this mic without, saying that we also have to own our behavior. We also have to own. Bryan knows me, and he sees what I post on Facebook. I am hard on my people because I expect better. Listen, when you take a kid and you teach this kid all these things that are negative, you are basically creating the next generation of criminal. So nobody makes you go outside and sell crack. Nobody makes you stick a gun in a person's face and take their purse. Nobody makes you do that. Having the ability to surrender ground to others is a key in being able to coexist on this earth. Now, I know that sounds like the politically correct thing to say, but John, I have a pretty much equal split in white and black friends, and I refuse to let people jump on that bandwagon. I'm not going to ride that. We have to own our we have to own our behavior.
You're absolutely. I mean, this is the thing about liberal, the far left approach to these issues is it's very patronizing because it provides excuses. So, like, I just kind of went on a rant. Like,
It's almost like disempowerment.
it is. It's saying you're a victim.
Yeah, let us help you. Let us help you. Let
Yeah.
us help you. Like, don't fucking help yourself.
It's a real conundrum because if you're someone who
He said conundrum. I love it.
It's a good word.
Yeah.
Thank you.
2 points for John.
Well, I think the problem with both far left and far right is they don't deal with this stuff. So they always are coming from it with a viewpoint of I'm foreign to this, and I'm gonna try to give my solution as
I'll be the champion
as
of the
you
black
know, as a
community.
white guy
Oh,
who doesn't
right.
have any black friends, never been in the black community, don't know anything about it, or a white guy on the left side that still has no connection to black
Yeah.
people, really.
I never thought about that. Like, largely on those polarizing ends, it's just fucking comfortable people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You guys got
their
money,
reality
well
is-
to do. You're driving your Volvo and walking your fucking Yorkie at the dog park and,
far left
and crying foul on the
crazy,
right,
yeah.
and you're just as fucking psychotic as they are in a different way.
Oh, it's disgusting. I mean, the far left it really is disgusting.
I do
nauseating.
believe that once you open up to other races, now, once you guys realize that, I think the best thing ever happened to me was opening up my circle of friends and accepting all races. I am huge on. I'm an American. However, I'm an American with African descent.
Right.
I don't play that race shit. I'm quick to get on your helmet about that. I will get on your shit about that because I think it's a cop out. Now, my wife is not black, so my kids are half white, half black. So I think they got the best of both worlds.
Right.
However, some people don't see it that way. And I can only live my truth. It's kind of like carrying a gun. I carry one every single day. So I don't know how it feels not to carry a gun. So I want people to understand that you have to accept the backlash. But I feel so comfortable in my skin that all my friends know if something happens and it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you need help, if you call me, I'm getting up.
Right, and that's what's
I'm getting
important.
up, regardless of race. You know?
I was thinking about this this interview, and I did. And you have a lot of friends from all the different races and everything. And I was thinking, well, I really don't. I only have like 3 or 4 black friends, probably.
You're that guy, John.
Yeah, I am that fucking guy.
I mean, in Tucson, though, there's like Keith and I were talking about this the other day. There's not.
No, but there's more and more. Like when I moved here, and I've lived in Arizona since 1980. When I moved here in '88, there was hardly any. There's a lot more.
There are now,
yeah.
but I mean, I haven't been here for a long time. I mean, like one of my only black friends in Tucson moved here from Boise, so
Right.
Yeah, but it's not like New York or L.A.
Oh, no.
or
No,
the
it's
South.
just definitely
No.
not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
However, I think you have to allow yourself an opportunity to meet other people outside of your race. I think athletics did that for me.
Well, I got
And
lucky
I'm
in that
blessed.
because of my dad being in the military, and
Way.
I remember him having that discussion with me. I was getting grief from kind of our racist neighbor about being a quote unquote a nigger lover for hanging out
Boom.
with my
I'm
friends.
so glad that word came out. I'm going to say it, nigger.
With because
Guys, nobody died.
That was
nobody
Mark.
died.
That was Mark, by the way.
Yeah.
I hung out with this kid up the street, and my dad gave me this lecture about there's all these guys over at the house. He said, I look out there, I see these guys. The colors I see are red, white, and blue. These are the guys I go to war with. These are the guys I fight with. He's like,
cheesy but wise.
yeah, but we you don't have to buy that bullshit. Let him, that's his baggage. You don't have to carry it.
and that's another. Go ahead.
Sorry. And back to what Keith was saying too about he was glad that he has friends of all races, and that's how I feel. It's like people that don't have that or are racist. I feel sad for them because
It's
they're
so
like
silly.
it's
Totally
just
missing
ignorance.
the whole point of
It's
life.
just
Juvenile.
ignorance. It's like
Right.
well, and then you choose to remain stupid. It's like, well, okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's ideology. It becomes something you can identify with, and
But I mean, you miss out on a lot of life. You miss out on a lot of different experiences and everything. It's like saying, like he was saying earlier, like if you were born somewhere and you choose to just stay in that 20-block radius for your whole life, like, nah, I don't want to go see it. Nah, I don't want to see it.
yeah.
I don't want to
Absolutely.
go there. I don't
My
wanna-
friends from Arkansas who wouldn't go to Little Rock with me. There's black people there.
Oh,
They're going to get you.
but even me,
they,
like,
they wouldn't even come in the stores. They'd wait for me in the car. I'm not kidding, with a gun in their
but
lap.
look at this. I mean, we're all pretty much on the same page about that, right? Just have the friends, just talk to them. It's not important what race they are, but
yeah, bleeds red, loves his mama.
yeah, but isn't it weird that we have a black guy on the show and we end up talking about race? I mean,
Right.
one reason is it's a show and it's supposed to focus on certain interesting topics, and race is the American topic par excellence. I mean, every American has an opinion or feelings about race.
Well,
So-
and you're hit over the head with it every day.
right. So
Every
it makes
day.
sense that we would talk about it. But on the other hand, like, well, why didn't we just end up talking about
I think-
immigration or some other issue? Why is it because Keith is here?
Well, I think because Keith is here and because of some of Keith's takes on racism, I thought we're going to surprise some people, because I've heard Keith say straight up, my black friends are way more racist than my white friends.
Way.
So tell us about
And that's been a consistent theme of what I've heard him say, way more than my white friends.
Is that true that you found your black friends to be?
I would say not a majority. I would say there's an equal split. Now, you only realize this when you broaden your horizons and you see something different than just the hood. However, I will say that I have lots of black friends that are absolutely racist.
Now, what kind of shit do they say
Well,
about
but
white
also,
people? When
oh
we're
my
not
God,
around?
it's fucking
yeah, when we're
awesome.
not around.
I don't mean to interrupt, but also that's because you're black. So
Right.
you're not going to have white racist friends, probably.
Right. That's
Right.
At
true.
least
Not true.
Not to your face.
Not true.
That
That's
was
not
my
true.
brother that one time.
Yeah.
He's not
That's
your
awesome.
friend, though.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I'll choke
that-
the shit out of him, though. Yeah, he knows that. However, I mean, if I have white friends that are racist, they hide it well.
Wow.
I'm
Right,
highly
right.
intelligent, guys. So, I mean, you probably could fool me for 10 minutes, but the 11th minute,
Yeah.
I'm choking you. So,
Right. Well, that's what I was going to ask. If they were racist and came out to you and said like they had these beliefs or whatever, would you remain friends with them?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You know why? Because
It's fun.
I'm well rounded. And like Bryan says, if there's somebody in the room that's going to stab me, come at me from the front,
Right. Keep
not
your
the back.
enemies closer.
So I would want to know why, and I have another thing. If you can go fishing with me, because I like fishing, I like hunting, I like guns. If you can go fishing with me and we can drink, maybe a quart of moonshine, enjoy ourselves. And if you can, after a 5 or 6 hour fishing trip, you can still hate me for no other reason that I'm black, you are fucked up,
well,
dude.
your mind is too undeveloped
crazy.
to be having decent friendship with
Right.
you.
You're crazy.
Dude, that makes me think of, do you remember this thing that Harold posted like a year ago about this guy? I think he was a musician, but a black guy, toured the South all the time, and he has a whole collection in his closet of KKK robes that guys that he's befriended ended up giving him their old robes. Like, he has a fucking collection of
That's
them.
awesome.
Like
That's how easy it is to get past those ideologies just with a friendship.
Yeah, and
Right.
for him it was music, because I think he was a guitarist, and so they would like share music, like you said about fishing. Like, if you can sit down and play this
Right.
music and feel like, because music, there's a lot of soul involved. You sit down and play music with a guy, it's a bonding. I mean, you're a musician, so it's a bonding experience,
Yeah.
right? Like, you feel closer to those guys.
But it's a microcosm of the theme of this whole show,
Yeah.
radical agnosticism, which is getting in the mix of views that are not yours.
Yeah.
And mulling them over, and like he said, reading the book back to front, and then
Yeah.
slowly come up with an opinion on an issue. Well, Mark, we have a lot of friends that are non-racist skinheads, right?
Right.
What is that exactly? I mean, because they make a point of saying non-racist, so they're into the music. It's like a British thing.
Well, originally skinheads were basically black in around 1968, 69 in the UK. They were just a culture that was predominantly people from Jamaica that had moved to England, and they were different than the Mods and like the Who and the White Kid Rockers, but they were still rockers. But they're like
Was it
black,
punk
and they would
rock?
listen to the rock and roll of the day. Like, so they'd be listening to the Who and whatever, but then they'd also be listening to reggae, and then they just
so
adopted.
the original, wait, let me get this straight.
Yeah.
Because I'm learning
Original
something
skinheads
right
were
now.
black.
The
Absolutely.
original
In
skinheads were
England,
black.
so then,
Oh,
what's the
shit.
next?
Well, how did that get
iteration
so
of that?
retarded?
Well, then, in England, you got the whole welfare and dole, they call it the dole,
The
and whatever.
dole.
And then you just had white kids that were adopting this black culture, as they do, and then eventually some of them fell under political parties that were more racist.
When did the
And
suspenders
so-
and the jackboots?
Yeah.
well, that was the black kids.
Okay.
That's they shave their heads, wear suspenders, wear boots, because boots is what you got in the welfare line.
Yeah.
Dropping straight knowledge on this show. That's
That
why I
is?
fucking
No
love
shit.
it, dude.
I
did
know
not know
none of
this.
Yeah.
I'm fucking beef
And-
with the
and-
knowledge
and-
of skinhead history.
And so then,
Totally.
white kids were adopting it, and they were listening to reggae and rock and whatnot. And then, like I said, some people, political opportunists come along and go, oh, well, the reason that you're poor or you're this or you're that is because of these people. And so
The
then
immigrants are stealing your jobs.
Right,
Yeah.
immigrants
Right.
are stealing your
The
jobs,
Jews.
blah, blah, whatever. So then you have a split, and there were white kids that weren't racist and white kids that were, because they were, their friends or
Idiots.
whatever, idiots, whatever.
Indoctrinated.
And so that's where you have this split.
Wow, he dropped knowledge on us, dude.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
But okay, Brian, though you have strong views on this concept of reverse racism, which is when
It's horseshit.
a
Well,
minority.
there's no such thing as reverse
No
racism.
such thing.
It's racism.
It's
If it's reverse racism, it means you love the people.
Well,
right.
You know what? I think what it is, when I hear people use it, I'm thinking, okay, so what you're saying is that racism is an exclusively white thing, and that it's reverse racism because you're doing it in retaliation, so therefore it's not as fucked up.
Right.
It's not a fucked up thing because like you had to fight back, but like.
So
I think it all has to
and
do
I've-
with terms and definitions. Like racism, to begin with, you have to talk with whoever you're talking to. You have to go like, what do you define racism as?
Well,
Because
I-
a lot of people, I think, take individual racism out of the equation, and all they're talking about is systemic
Systemic.
racism.
So stereo-
just government.
stereotypes.
So no, just
Oh, you talking
what
about-
the
okay.
government, how the government can keep you from a job, possibly.
Right. Okay. So
Or
the
or
government's treatment of minorities, or the
how the
system's
black
treatment of a
community
minority.
is treated, differently than the white community in general in this country, or stuff like that.
So what
Whereas-
you're saying that when they talk about reverse racism, they're also talking about it as a systemic thing, like EOE employers and think like
affirmative action.
affirmative action.
No,
or
no,
what?
no.
I'm
Most
lost.
people will say most people talk about reverse racism, then are trying to say black people are racist too, and
Right.
black people are racist.
They are.
And then they're talking about right, but that's more of an individual racism.
Right.
That's more of you don't like me because of my color,
Right.
just like some people of my color don't like you.
But Brian's
'cause of
also
your
talking
color.
about these are the things that piss you off. I think are double standards when it comes to like racial epithets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Right.
But
Right.
here's something
So-
where I'm still kind of a liberal. Okay, because like this issue of
That's a nasty word, John.
yeah, this issue of like racial epithets. You, Brian, get really pissed off when like it's okay for a black guy to joke around and call someone a cracker or something like that. But
Yeah, let me try that shit.
Right.
And it makes the fucking news.
Well,
But
there's
not that I would, because I don't find it to be very classy. I mean, when have you ever known me to use
Never.
like?
but
yeah,
but there's a
But
reason for
we're
it,
real
okay?
friends. We're not.
right. But I don't use it.
We're
in
not surface
I don't
friends.
use it in general.
Right.
Like I just don't.
I know, but
No, it's-
but you're mad about the cultural standard.
Yeah,
that
the
it's
double
worse
standard.
to say this one word.
Yeah.
But here's the liberal perspective on this: why there is and should be a double standard. It's because of there's a history. There's a history behind that word.
But how do we change history? By moving forward. Right?
Wait a minute.
It's easy for a white
And
person
this is
to
where-
say that.
Wait a minute.
Right. It
Wait a minute,
is,
guys.
It is. But this
I don't think that Brian Richter, even if his great 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 grandpa was racist, Brian Richter does not owe me shit. So we need to knock it off with this bullshit. We need to stop because listen,
this is
I
where me and him
cannot
totally agree.
And here's my issue. You have some black people that during Black History Month they unfriend all their white friends on Facebook. You are a fucking coward. If that's your stance, you are a fucking coward, and I don't want to know you. Stop breathing my fucking air.
Well, this is
So
I really,
let's just be honest about it, and I'm going to clear the floor for Brian. However, I don't see a date and a time that's significant enough for me to like turn my back on my white friends.
Yeah.
I don't play that shit.
Like your wife.
Exactly, because that's my best friend.
Yeah.
I'll kill up some shit over my wife.
Right.
So nobody owes Keith Jeffrey anything. I don't give a shit if your grandpa was a slave master. It's not your debt to pay. So knock it off.
and Keith is largely responsible for kind of putting me onto this way of thinking because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'll paraphrase like one of our earliest conversations because we talked about this in a little bit different light. I don't
Right.
have the exact specifics, but Keith said, you don't want equal treatment when a black person's screaming for something like that. They're not looking for equal treatment. They're looking for fucking special treatment. The conversation came up about reparations
Right.
or about being treated equally, and he's like, no, you're still making it a black and white thing when you have that double standard. You're still perpetuating the issue that there's a difference. You're not looking for equality. You're looking for. Does that make sense? Does
Yes.
that more
Let's
like
just talk
you're
about
not
it
looking
in
for
terms
equality?
of-
You're looking to be treated special. You're looking to get paid back for something that happened not now.
Let's talk about it
Right.
in terms of political correctness, because political correctness controls epithets against black people, minorities, and women as well. Epithets against Hispanic people, black people, Asian people, and stuff. They control those epithets much more strongly than they would an epithet against a white person. So, in other words, you might get away with saying a white racial epithet at work because people would kind of laugh and think
Right.
it's funny. But it doesn't bother me. That's the thing. Those words don't bother me. They have no emotional weight. Now, maybe they do for you, and I'll give you a chance to say that. But like the N word and everything, these words.
That's why I wish there was a word for white people that like.
But the
Well,
fact
there's
that there
fucking plenty
is.
of
made her panties get in a
Plenty of them,
bunch.
they just don't. I got,
Like,
I
oh,
got
doesn't- he
well, you
doesn't
can't
think
say.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I'll give you an example though, because white epithets don't have an emotional impact on
No,
me.
I
But
could
there's
care
some
less.
that I won't say to other white people, like white trash. Now that to me that
unless they're
epithet.
Canadian, then it's like
To me, that epithet does carry weight because white poverty is a real historical fact. And so people that make fun of poor
I'm
white
living it.
people that have mullets and dirty T-shirts, they're poor. They can't afford your style and whatever. So it's not really that funny to make fun of that. I mean, it can be.
Right.
But I think it's cool if you got mustard on your wife beater.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
It's almost required if you live in the South.
Yeah.
But what upsets me about it, you're right, it doesn't have an emotional context. Like if I get called a cracker, it's no big deal.
Right.
But if I get called a cracker by a guy who's crying about getting called something else, well, you're full of shit.
definitely
You're
hypocrisy,
perpetuating the situation by using a racial epithet, whether it fucks with me or not.
But Bryan,
you're still part of the problem.
If you're worried about the current playing field not being equal, in other words, political correctness leaning towards the minority, if you're upset about that, but you're not upset about the graveyard of history of slavery and Jim Crow. I mean, I know you are.
No, that all bothers me.
I know, but when you're complaining about the double standard today, it almost seems like you're not. You wouldn't be complaining about that if you were thinking about the thing underneath it, this heavy weight of history that's real.
I have a question.
Well, let me just, before I forget, well, I do and I don't. Because you can't live in history. You got to live in now. And if we want it to be better, then we have to be better. All of us, not just white people, have to be better, but all of us have to be better about doing it. And if you're gonna say that it's a problem, but you're going to perpetuate it by using racial epithets yourself, then do you really give a fuck that it's a problem? Because you're perpetuating it. So it's not so much
That's a good point.
that I'm not paying attention to the history, because I am, and I know it's a very touchy subject, because I still have strong feelings about it. Like, to me, a little bit, okay, like maybe I'll take a couple extra shots because of how fucked up things were.
Right.
But if we really
I don't think
want
that's cool.
But if we really want it to change, but maybe that's white guilt. I don't know. But if we really want it to change, then doesn't it have to stop from everyone? Not just from me, but from everyone. Like,
it does, but you can't change what they do.
No,
Right.
I can't.
But I think,
like you said, and if you want to change stuff, you got to be better. So maybe you're the person that has to be better by not saying certain things, and then whoever else wants to say
always
whatever.
comes
then
back to
you're
Michael Jackson's
and then
classic
you by being better just don't respond or don't get upset with it. And that's my thing with it, is like, from childhood, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I mean, that's what I was taught.
No, but perpetuating shitty ideas and fucking shitty status quos will hurt.
No,
you.
I
Absolutely.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is just the language itself. And like, even the word nigger. Like, we can all sit here and say the N-word,
Right.
and then that supposedly like puts us above it, and we're not. But when I say the N-word, you know
sterilizes
what
it.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Some
you have
comedian-
to think that word.
I think it was Louis. He said basically, that's what he said. He goes, when I say the N-word, I'm making you be racist.
Yeah,
Because you have to
making
think
you
about
think
what
that
word
way.
I'm talking about.
Exactly.
And
Guys,
Keith, go ahead.
my take is this, and I know it's not real popular with the mass majority of black people
And white liberals.
and white liberals, but no one owes Keith L. Jeffery shit. No one. We cannot. I refuse to sing Negro spirituals. No, fuck that.
Well, I've never heard you use the word cracker or
No,
anything else.
I don't play
either.
that game.
Either.
So
But is it that-
I'm self-made. So guys, I have a different level of understanding. I actually have seen racism from the inside from black people. I've seen it from white people. It's all the same. It's all fucked up.
It is.
So I cannot change the fact that hundreds or thousands of people were hung in the South. I cannot change that. Why are we going to fucking turn around and go back there? Let's move forward. There's nothing you can do to stop that. There's nothing you can do to change it. It's part of our history. It's history. It's in the past. Hold on, John, and you guys can have the floor, because this is where we need to be in 2015. Fuck reparations. Fuck all that. I just want you to open the door. I'll get my own fucking seat. Just unlock the door. You don't have to do shit for me. Unlock it. Once I'm in the room, I'll get my own seat. So a lot of black people use this shit as a cop-out. I have friends that do it. I still don't agree with it. And my motto is, you can't whoop my ass, so I'm going to tell you the truth. We need to stop resting on that. Let's look forward. This is one of my best friends in the whole fucking world sitting next to me. He's a white dude. But at the end of the day, if something happened and we had to mount up and we had to get our prepper shit together, believe that I trust Bryan with my 6. So let's stop with the fuckery. Let's stop with that, because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, guys. I understand that shit happened in our history. That's not cool. But making 2015 white people pay for 1925 white people, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous,
White
guys.
people need to get this message too, though, because
You're damn right.
Everybody has excuses for why they're not doing well. And I have them too. Like if you get into Noam Chomsky, you're going to start, even if you're a white college grad, you're going to start feeling like there's institutional forces working against you. So, I have to get this message myself. Stop saying, well, there's all these things in my way, getting in my way from what I want. And yeah, I mean, you're right. It's wisdom. We sound like conservatives here, and that's a good thing, because my tendency is to lean to the left, and I don't want that to be what the show is about. But I guess we're coming to some kind of consensus. One question, one word answer from all three of you: should all racial epithets be given up and no one says them anymore because they're harmful and immature? Or B, should the door just be swung wide open, everyone say everything what they want?
Because at least you know what you're up against. I don't think you can censor a whole population of people. It's not realistic.
Good call.
Well, how are you going to do that?
You're
going to erase the word?
They're
what
trying.
Are you gonna do?
They're trying.
That's like gun, it's the same as gun control,
right?
Except it's even stupider.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, and I want to hear Brian's take on this because I know he's fucking loaded. He's cocked and loaded over here. So, okay, as a black guy, I understand that certain things that my white friends think that we think differently. But also, being able to surrender ground to others, guys, I think is key to us moving forward. We
Great
have
point.
to be able to surrender ground to other people.
My friend Ryan and I were talking about this on the phone the other night, how much it throws someone off if you're having an argument, right? This ideological back and forth, and then you say, oh, that's a pretty good point. And then you don't say anything after that. You don't go, but you actually give some ground. You surrender some ground. You say, oh, yeah, you're kind of right about that. It throws them off, and the person's very next reaction is to give ground to you. Their next reaction is they'll be like, what? Oh, well, yeah, your points were pretty good too. And then that it really throws people off, and Americans aren't used to that at all. The
Right.
Facebook arguments, the back
Right.
and forth. You have this feeling of, I can never give up. I've gotten into this argument that I don't really know all that much about, maybe, or that I don't even care that much about, but now it's a personal back and forth
Right.
that's public for others to see. So I have to win this.
Right.
And I've found it's much better at the end of these arguments. I usually say, when I'm sick of doing it anymore, I don't want to write anymore and argue.
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
And then period.
It's over.
Yeah. So Bryan, censor the words or open the door?
That's a good question. I've been thinking, but it's funny because he said I'm locked and loaded. I'm fucking perplexed. I don't know.
That's a
what
first.
I don't know what it's not. It's so common. Not everybody's going to feel the same way about it. So if you throw the door open, there's going to be a lot of people get their ass kicked for running their mouth.
It is a free market. Almost.
Why does it have to turn violent?
Well,
Why
because
can't it be an intellectual conversation?
Because some people. Let's think about it.
Look at comments on YouTube videos. I mean, have you seen the
Absolutely.
level of racism?
But as Keith, I think what Keith is getting to is, that shows your ignorance even more.
Right, and it's a free market. People will think you're
exchanging
an idiot.
words and have to resort to violence then.
Right, but
because of words that have gone between two people.
And that's cool between all us reasonable people right here. But you walk out on the street and run up on somebody at the mall and think you're going to drop some racial slurs on them, and that shit's going to go well.
No,
and I fucking bet you it doesn't go well.
Sure.
So I mean, what I think though is that maybe a little bit of both. I think some comedians have started really opening it up on both sides, making fun of their own race and making fun of other races. And
it's a golden age for comedy, right?
Yeah.
Stand-up comedy is better than it's ever been, and they are breaking down those walls.
I think it's improving relations that
Absolutely.
we fucking make fun of each
is.
other. So I have mixed feelings about that because I think it can be damaging for people who aren't evolved, who don't have a fucking sense of humor, who can't interact. But I think under the right circumstances, like in a group of friends, maybe we should open it all up, because that's why I want to get some black people over for the next Cards Against Humanity game, because I bet it's going to be fucking funnier.
I'm in. Guys, and also, you have to take into account where I am in my life. I'm 41. I'm a professional person. I'm married. I've been with my wife for damn near 20 years. I have kids that I have to model appropriate behavior for daily. You can't turn that shit off. So I have to take the high road on some things, because kids will do what you do, not do what you say.
Yeah, 70% of what you do, 30% of what you say.
So guys, you have to understand where I am as a human being. I have to leave I have to set these kids up to take on this nasty ass world. So do I use intellect or do I use emotion? there's a fine line, but parenting is not black and white either. So I have to do what I think, or excuse me, what my wife and I thinks, because I'm not always the boss, what we think is best to raise these kids in this world. However, my kids see the quality of my friendships and the depth of my friendships. I'd like to think that I'm loved more than I'm hated. So when you feel that way, you have to be able to surrender ground to other people, no matter what the circumstances are.
I think you've articulated the spirit of this show better than I have yet with that statement.
That last one, yeah.
Let me throw some challenges at you dealing with it.
Let me just say one thing first before we move on. The whole thing for me about these words, racial epithets, whatever. Also, I think sometimes what goes missing is the underlying meaning behind them, or the emotion, or whatever. Like I could call Keith Mr. President, and if I'm using it in a derogatory tone, it's just as bad. You know what I mean? If I hate him because of his skin color, and then it doesn't matter what the actual word is. It's the meaning behind it.
Meaning is all context. Don't make me get into Wittgenstein.
That's what I was saying earlier. Like among friends, open the floodgates. Say whatever you want to your buddies. But I think like as far as opening the floodgates to just anybody says whatever they want to anybody, people are going to get fucked up.
Oh no. Well, you have to use common sense. No matter,
it's not that common anymore, guys.
No, it never was really. Like it's not even that common in this room. And,
This is a beautiful show. I have to say, I'm so glad you guys had me on, because
I like
I'm not the average guy. So
I like the way of looking at it. Like let's just talk about it. Let's between people who might not even always agree on it. Well, I can't wait till people get on here who really just are very polarized to one side or the other.
That's going to be happening soon. But I got to say, man, it just reflects my personal journey. When I was a teenager, I was a fundamentalist evangelical Christian. Republican, then
that's scary.
I've had straight up racist views, pseudoscientific racial beliefs, and then I flew to the other side of things, a radical liberal, Chomskyan anarchist type of philosophy.
He was just at the book fair. Chomsky.
He was?
Yeah. You didn't know that, dude? No. I knew you were going to fucking want to know that.
But it was free and people
mobbed.
Started lining up to get in there like 5 hours.
I'm sure.
Before
Dude, when that guy goes, though, it's going to be a huge loss. That guy is brilliant, and he's amazing. He's kind of a one-trick pony in his political views, but he's unequaled in terms of American intellect. But anyway, I moved. I've been a libertarian, and so
except for I still find hypocritical views of his.
We can talk about that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, he's just as full of shit as any of us, man. He
I don't
puts
know
on his
that.
pants.
He pulls down a government paycheck.
John, I want you to hit on just real quick your idea of your political stance, being not Republican, not Democrat, but where are you? Let's just talk as friends. Where are you in that spectrum?
So this story I was just telling of swinging from the left to the right. This is where I am now. Then I tried to go libertarian, which was just kind of in the middle. It's big on civil rights, but get rid of the government. And then I'm like, well, I kind of like roads and water, so maybe don't get rid of the government.
Right.
But where I stand now is incredibly jaded politically in terms of presidential candidates and the two-party system. However, even that I've been challenging myself with. So I'm in limbo right now. I will not vote for Hillary Clinton. Mm-mm. I obviously will not vote for Jeb Bush.
No.
I'll probably throw in for a third party.
Yep.
But I'm just. I mean, like I said, even this two-party system, there's an argument for that, right? Because you have electoral systems like in Israel, which is just if you've tried to read an article about this election that happened this week where Netanyahu won again, if you try to read about how this process is done, you'll come out more confused. They have like 13 parties. You don't know who wins until they get enough votes to be able to form a government, quote unquote. I really don't know how it works, but the two-party system allows for this back and forth of the liberal and conservative views, and adding more parties into that arguably means that you could have a president who, say, only 20% of the country follows because there were 8 candidates and he got the most or she got the most votes. So you don't want a president who's only has 20% of
Isn't
the
that
country's
kind of what
support.
happened around 33 in
Well,
Germany?
No, he was the only candidate.
except
actually.
for the fact that
There are a lot of different parties going on
nowadays
back then,
people
and
think
vote
the
was really
president
split.
equals the government, and like the president can do anything he wants, and that's what the government does. And our government was set up to be three three
checks
things.
and balances.
Checks and balances.
Congress, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court.
Right. And so if you throw 13 parties into that, if you still need a majority to get things done.
I'm coming to get that shotgun from Bryan if that shit happens.
Right.
But
It's
the
gonna get
majority is
ugly.
going to be a lot smaller if there's 13 parties.
No. You still need a majority of 70%. So
Oh
you need parties coalitioning
Right.
to say, okay, yeah, that is a good idea. Instead of just one party saying, no, this is a good idea, and the other party saying, no, this is a good idea, and then whoever of those two, like if, say we get 6 more motherfuckers in here, and then for us to
Whose mother are they fucking?
It would be a
just wanna
mess.
know.
I mean, it's hard enough
And
to
can I watch?
coordinate a 4-mic show.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
it is a good
What
microcosm.
I'm saying is,
if there
we
were
had-
6 more
if there were
guys.
10 people in here, and we had to get a majority in 10 people, which would be 6, to discuss a topic.
I think we'd have to clear out the living room and start rolling. I mean, seriously, with 10 people in here,
I like
seriously.
that. That's a good answer.
No, guys,
Danny.
I mean, seriously,
Violence
10.
is the answer.
Yeah. Okay, but
No,
I'd
friendly
like to
competition.
also add that I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I am a forward moving free thinker.
I believe you. And you asked me where I stand politically.
I just
and
like
that's
to
where it
ask
is.
people because that's where I am
Well,
as a man.
And on some issues, you have to make a decision. They're heavily partisan issues like abortion.
Right.
Okay, with abortion, I understand both sides. I really do, and I think everyone who wants to have a real opinion on that issue should, at some point, emotionally experience, at least through imagination, both sides of that debate. I can understand people who think that it's murder. It's a horrific thing. But where I land is where I land with capital punishment. I believe some criminals deserve to die, but I don't think the state has the right to make that decision. So I'm against capital punishment. I'm more in favor of vigilante justice than capital punishment because, like I said, I believe certain people deserve to die, but that doesn't make it my other belief, which is that the state doesn't have that right, just like they don't have the right to legislate what we do to our minds and bodies in terms of substances and drugs and things. I don't think the state has that should have that power. So even though I know some drugs are really bad and some pro-drug people don't recognize how dangerous alcohol, heroin, crack cocaine, these drugs are, they really are addictive. Now there's other drugs in there lumped in the same category that aren't addictive.
Right.
But no matter how dangerous they are, I don't think it's the state's place to legislate that.
Right.
So like with abortion, I understand that feeling that it's murder, and I don't know what I would do. It would, in that situation, or how I would advise my female partner or whatever. But I don't think the state.
So you've never been in that?
No, I haven't.
You, Beef, ever been in that circumstance where an abortion's one of the fucking decisions on the
Yep.
table?
Yes, sir.
Which way did it go? Do you mind me asking? Which way did it go?
No, and the girl had an abortion, and I basically left it up to her, which could be a cowardly thing to do,
That was the
I don't
next thing
know.
I was going to ask you. Like, do you feel like you left it up to her so that you wouldn't have to make the choice, or do you feel like you left it up to her because legitimately, as the woman who's going to have to carry a baby, it was her choice? Which
To be honest, I think it was 50-50.
50-50.
My wife's body is her own.
Right.
I don't
Right.
own
Well, see,
any
I don't-
part of it.
Can
No,
I just stay
like-
with him for
Go
a minute?
ahead, go ahead.
And how did you feel about it? Like, what were your actual personal feelings?
At the time, I was all right with it. I kind of regret it now, but at the time, I was all right with it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I said, like Keith just said, her body is her body. Now, I hope that she made that decision because that's what she wanted, and not because she felt like I wouldn't support the kid if she gave birth to it.
So you were prepared to do that?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now, to me, it's the father. That's the father. The man is the father of that child potentially, and so to me, his input is really important, and it should be very much a part of that discussion. But it's like ownership of a company. The woman, to me, has 51% ownership. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I would have to agree there because I
at
also
the
was
end
in
of
the
day,
same.
It's gotta go up to her.
Yeah, we are not equal.
I was in the same. in the same situation, and I had never really thought about it till just now, until I heard you talking about it. Like, what? Because I did the same thing. I said, "Whatever, I'm with you." Like, I was in love with her. I was, so I didn't care. Like, kid or no kid, I was going to be with this girl forever. So I left it completely up to her. But it just made me wonder right now: did I do it because did I leave it up to her because I was too chicken shit to make the decision, or because out of respect? And I think I'm about the same. Like 50,
you're too smart for
like
that, Bryan.
50-50 though, dude. Because I was fucking scared to death, man. I was fucking petrified. I'm not even gonna lie. I was petrified. Like I'm this fucking sorry ass 22-year-old working at a group home. No foreseeable future as far as your traditional thing of success. All I know is that I fucking absolutely love this girl, and I'll stay with her through whatever. And I didn't want a kid. I got to tell you, like, I fucking did, and I was scared. I was hoping so much that she would say, yeah, I'm out.
She must have known that on some level.
Well, she didn't either. Right. But have I thought about it since? Like, I have. I had a weird dream once about being at a jiu-jitsu competition. In my dream, I'm coaching this girl, and I can hear somebody talking behind me to my wife, and they're saying, he's too hard on her. And my wife answers back, "Oh, you should hear her when he rolls."
How do you? That's like a tear-jerking movie line, and you have that in a dream. That's amazing.
That's badass.
His intellect, Bryan, man, he operates on another level, dude. I don't think you've ever really found an outlet for it.
Yes,
dude,
he did the show.
Well, maybe, dude, and that's why I'm glad to be on here. But I don't like. That's a weird thing for me personally. Like that. You just saying that I've never felt like I belong anywhere, man. Like I've always felt like it's a fucking struggle. And I actually, like, I talked about this in my last high school reunion, at being a military brat and moving around. At one point, I actually, like, fucking consciously reinvented myself to someone that I wasn't, even to change my lot. I never felt like I fit. Yeah, that's a long fucking story.
I think Keith you've been through that reinvention yourself.
Absolutely.
And recently too, like myself, I think, and I can probably say this for all four of us, because this bouncing around from ideology to ideology, at some point you either stick with one and become a crusty old dogmatic asshole like so many people, or you say, damn it, I'm sick of, for me, I was humiliated by being wrong so many times.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sick of being wrong about an ideology.
But
That's part of it. So
but
radical agnosticism is rising above that trend. I don't want that comfort anymore.
Right.
Do you think it's because almost every ideology is fucking off in some way? Like there's no all for one. There's no one for all.
Human.
Yeah.
It's not human to glom onto an intellectual system. That's not wisdom. Wisdom is something alien and strange. If you've never had a spiritual experience, either through psychedelics or dreams or meditation or just something...
How about through religion?
Through religion.
Guys, we need to really... I mean, I don't got a whole bunch of more time, but I really wanted to say, part of the process of being a parent is basically, just addressing psychological slavery through religion. Serious. Right.
Keith,
I have changed.
Wow.
Why does the black community oppose gay marriage in voting so staunchly? This is a surprising thing that liberals don't want to talk about, is that the black community often comes out in droves in elections concerning gay marriage and gay rights, and they vote against it.
I have gay friends. Two of our good friends. My wife introduced me to these people. I love them. They live up in Phoenix, Levine. I love them. What they do in their fucking bedroom is none of my business. They are my friends. I'm going to ride with them till the fucking wheels fall off. I cannot consciously get on board with this hate shit.
Isn't it religious?
Yes.
Isn't it because the black community is more religious than the white population?
Well,
I wouldn't necessarily say more.
I would say it's
driven by their Southern Baptist or Christian religion.
That's religion, yeah.
So yes, but I think I need to take a step above. I'm not going to pick a religion for my kids. I told them this. I continue to tell them this. you find your God where you want to find him at. My God is when I'm standing behind a AR-15 at the range. That's where I find mine. Or if I'm catfishing, or if I'm camping, me and my wife, that's where I find my God.
Let me hit you with something else. You're against corporate welfare.
Yes.
The NFL grossed $9 billion last year. The NFL doesn't pay taxes. Now, the teams do. Each of the 30-something teams pays taxes. But the NFL league office, I think it's called, is classified as a trade organization and doesn't pay taxes. Do you have any opinions on that?
I'm absolutely against that.
And the Major League Baseball didn't pay taxes either till a few years ago, till 2007, and it didn't really hurt them that bad. Actually, their revenues have gone way up. So the NFL grossed $9 billion. Major League Baseball was number 2 in professional sports organizations. With
Seriously,
$8 billion.
Still number 2.
Yeah,
and they're like
That's
all I keep
craziness.
reading
No
on
one cares
social
about
media is that
baseball.
fucking baseball's dying.
It's making more money than ever by a far.
Yeah. Whenever people are talking
I
about
love baseball.
welfare
Me too.
or talking about corporate handouts and to the auto industry or whatever, no one ever mentions the sports,
Right?
Major league sports, and that's one of the big ones.
I got to tell you, I'm
and
frankly fucking disgusted that the NFL doesn't pay any taxes.
Yeah, that fucks with me a lot because I love my Dallas Cowboys. Brian knows there's nothing that will get me to drive to your house and want to invoke violence on you than talking about my Cowboys. I love my Cowboys. Brian and his team's a rival of mine. We've been able...
That's almost the most difficult thing between you two.
To surrender ground to each other so we don't
Trust
physically
me,
fight.
bro. In that relationship,
Yeah.
I'm the one surrendering all the fucking ground.
but yeah, I'm not cool with that because I have a good friend of mine. Her name is Kim Edens, and I really used to hammer people on welfare until I started to follow Kim on her post about corporate welfare, and I have to give her credit. Kimmy Sue, if you're out there listening, I love you. Thank you very much for opening my eyes to corporate welfare because I did not realize how rampant it was.
She busts your balls on a lot of things, though.
Oh,
she's good for you,
dude. I love her.
She's good for
I
you.
love her.
Commissioner,
I had to surrender ground to Kimmy Sue because she's a
good,
small thing.
She's good for you.
Commissioner Goodell. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
He's a fuckwad.
$29 million a year, his salary.
No, he made 40 this last year, John.
More than the CEO of Walmart or Coca-Cola.
Yes.
Or AT&T.
Right.
Or major banks.
Yeah,
That
he's crazy.
You but America loves football, dude. Like, even my wife.
Fuck
my
that, it's not right.
My fucking wife loves
but-
football, dude. She cancels hair appointments and facials and manicures to stay home and root for teams that aren't even her team.
That just made Billy hotter, Brian.
Everything makes Billy hotter to me.
Right.
But I
yeah.
mean that's like back in Roman days with gladiators.
Right.
The public loved going out to the Coliseum
people die.
and seeing that stuff.
It's because of untapped...
But the people were in not that good of shape. They were not being, they were living miserable lives.
So you're saying
But then
it's just a distraction.
It's an escape. It's a distraction.
Right.
And so they're willing, or they don't know, to for that money to go to that.
But I gotta say, I think sports do offer hope, though, because I'll tell you,
Sports do offer hope, like Keith was saying, for the individual in the community,
Yeah.
to get out.
You fucking right, it does.
because I didn't even have
Like,
the same
there's-
experience Keith did. But I remember one day my dad saying, I'm fucked up on a variety of drugs at this point. I'm about to blow any chance at a decent life I have. And my dad comes in and he says, "Man, you should come watch this kid play basketball. Like, you got to come watch this kid play basketball."
Who was he?
Michael Jordan.
Lord Jesus.
So I go
It's
out
nothing
there.
like Michael.
Wow.
So
Mike was the
I go
shit.
out there and I watch Mike score 63 on the Celtics in the playoffs. These guys who I grew up watching, these guys who I fucking idolize, like McHale, Bird, Parrish. Jordan is just fucking destroying them.
I'm
And
so lucky that I grew up able to
all
watch
of us,
the
man.
Bulls. That
Right.
repeat.
so the next day, these guys come to my house and they want to go see this dude. He's our dealer. We've been hooking up, and I'm like, "Nah, man, nah. I'm not going. Like, fuck that guy. Fuck you guys. I'm going to the basketball court today." And it changed my life, man. Like, it really did change my life. And I didn't have the success you had.
Right.
I just
playing.
just playing,
Getting better at
just
something.
man, just like getting
But
better
Brian,
at
your
something,
passion, I mean, you got to kind of know Brian Richter to understand his stories. And when he talks about playing basketball with the brothers, you have to kind of listen to what he's not saying to you to get the real from it.
Yeah, they used to call me
It was
Greystoke.
an art, dude. It was an art. And I love to hear those stories.
Keith, how much time do you have with us?
I just got a couple more minutes, but I
Okay.
want you guys, let's end this on Black Guy with a Gun.
What does that mean?
Black guy with a gun.
Because
Can I explain what it means a little bit?
Okay.
This goes back to Keith's thing about race, and after the whole Michael Brown thing, Keith got real unpopular on Facebook for a while. I think he said something like he lost like 60 friends.
Okay.
And his whole take was, I'm a 6'7" black guy who open carries a 45 on my waist. Why am I not getting shot 5 times a day by the police? Is that
Why?
what you're talking about? Like, why am I not getting shot?
Guys?
That was his thing, and he took so much heat for this from his friends on Facebook.
Man, we need to kind of get to a place now. Obviously, we're friendly in this room. Although I don't know Beef a lot, I think he and I could be friends and drink some fucking whiskey and some shit.
Beef's solid.
And,
I'll sign
and I
off
could
on
listen
Beef.
I wouldn't have
to
had
Beef
him here
play, his instruments, and I could go down, I mean, I could probably burn 1 or 2 or 3, and he and I could coexist. But let's be honest about what we're up against, guys. Now, I don't got a lot of time, but I really wanted to end on this, John, and I don't want to steal the show. But you guys have to understand where Keith is coming from. I carry. Now, I had to take this from Bryan. I do not open carry anymore. I conceal carry because I just had to listen to what Bryan said about open carry in comparison to conceal carry. And he said something to me that fucked me up, John. He said, Keith, if you're somewhere and you're open and carry and somebody is going to do something, they're going to knock your head off first.
Well, grab that gun.
Right. So that bothered me that my friend would tell me this, but it made me change my thinking on open carry. I do not open carry anymore. I make sure it's concealed. I don't carry. I carry inside the waistband holster now.
And you're saying that you don't get racially profiled. You
I do
haven't had
not
problems with the cops.
get racially profiled. I've gotten pulled over 4 times in the last 3 years. I only got 1 ticket.
But you should see the way this fucking guy drives, though. Like, so he's not getting profiled when he pulled. Because on the way over here, I swallowed my fucking heart like 4 times.
Yeah, I'm not a good driver.
No, he's a good driver, but he drives like a fucking. He's fast and he
Keith.
drives like a maniac. So he's not getting profiled when he gets pulled over. He's getting pulled over because he's fucking driving like a maniac.
But a lot of my listeners are going to need me to say there's some statistics on this, right? Black people make up 12% of the U.S. population. They make up between 13 and 15% of drug users and sellers in the U.S. So basically, perfectly aligned with their
demographics.
Their demographics.
Okay.
They make up 41% of drug arrests, 55% of convictions, and 74% of people sent to prison for drug offenses.
No, I'm going to tell you here, dude.
All that says to me is
that's
that
pretty fucking telling.
The justice system is set up that way.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So Keith is saying he hasn't been racially profiled.
He might not be as an individual. And it depends on. It doesn't just depend on you being black. It depends on what community you live in.
Well, did you have the same experience in Boise?
You know what I mean?
They didn't fuck with me because I was Big Keith. I used to play football.
Okay,
Yeah,
are you attributing that to the fact that it doesn't exist, or that you were kind of a semi-celebrity in that town?
Well, somewhat.
Also,
However, my approach is not. I'm not confrontational. Here's the deal, guys. Pulled over. We make contact. Do you know how fast you're going? No, sir. I'd like to declare my firearm immediately. Oh, thanks.
They do like that.
They do like that.
Okay, so guys, if it's dark, before he approaches the vehicle, I hit the dome light so he can see inside the vehicle. If I'm in a tinted vehicle, I roll down the driver's side window. I keep my hands visible at all times. When he makes contact and says, "Do you have driver's license, registration, and insurance?" I hand them to him. It's already paper clipped in my sun visor. So he is absolutely disarmed at this point. So not only did this fucking huge black guy declare his firearm, he's going to run me. I have personalized license plates. It already says who I am. I carry a 45. It's a Kimber. Is there anything? What is the nature of your inquiry? Am I the target of an investigation, sir? No, sir. You were speeding. Do you know that? Yep, I was speeding. Here's your ticket. Have a good day. John, I've never been pulled out of my vehicle. I've never been thrown to the ground. I've never been shot because I don't act like a fucking yard ape when he comes to my goddamn car. So let's get that out in the open because I'm sick of this shit.
So what you're saying is that when you have police contact, if and when you have police contact, your own demeanor and the way you respond to that contact has a lot to do with how the interaction.
It's called surrendering ground to other people.
I've found the same thing myself.
So it doesn't matter what color you are. I'm friends with cops. So I cannot get on board with everybody's listen. Racial profiling happens. It happens every day. But we contribute to that by first thing out of our mouth. Why the fuck you pull me over?
Right.
Okay, so now he's pissed off. So it's kind of like the escalation of force continuum. This guy's fucking irate, so I need to be on full alert. So
way
the
to
next
pull out
question,
a reference from last episode.
Yeah.
so absolutely. Hey guys,
Thank you.
I'm all over this shit. So anyways, so now this guy's thinking,
long time listener.
this guy's now he's thinking like, why the fuck's this guy irate? So now his radars are up. So now his hand's on his pistol. You know why? Because that motherfucker has kids and he wants to go home too. Right. So let's not make excuses for bad behavior. Racial profiling happens, but we can contribute or to the positive outcome or the negative outcome by how we approach the police officer. This motherfucker has a job to do. I allow him to do that, guys. So I can only tell you what my experiences are. And if I start getting racially profiled, I'll come back on this show and tell you guys.
Fair enough.
But at this point, I have to say that the only time that I ever had anything happen to me was this guy was like, "Oh, you're one of them." I said, "Sir, DeBerry versus Arizona states that my firearm cannot be the only reason why you continue this
Detaining.
this yeah. So, under those grounds, what is the nature of your inquiry? Where's your affidavit of fact? And are you fucking with me because I'm smarter than you?"
Well
now,
done.
I shouldn't have ever said that, but it was pretty obvious I was smarter than him, and he didn't like it. Well, I learned from that, John. I learned from that, and I don't.
You what happened with that?
He gave me a ticket and said, "Oh, right, you're one of them,"
Like
and I was
constitutional guys.
Right. So I was like, "No, sir. I just know that I have the ability to travel these roadways unmolested, and you're molesting me at this point."
Well played. All right, well, we're going to leave it at that. The statistics...
I just wanted to ask one thing.
Go ahead, Mark.
And I completely see where you're coming from. But at the same time, do you think you wouldn't be racial profiled or have the same experience if you lived in Ferguson?
Where the Department of Justice found
if you
extreme racial profiling.
get pulled over by either cops that are having a bad day or a cop that's in the KKK?
Right. Well, you can increase or decrease the likelihood of you being shot and killed by A, what are you doing out? I'm a father of 2. I'm married. So at 10 o'clock at night, I'm watching some hunting or fishing show in my boxers at home.
What Mark?
Don't be a fucking dumbass.
I think what Mark's asking though is like, should you have to decide like, oh, I have. Because if I haven't read that, I want to read that. So if you could like link me to it or something, the Department of Defense,
yeah, it's out,
or
it's
the
out.
Department of Justice report on Ferguson. But like,
Yeah,
if
it's
you're
bad.
dealing with and I hear they have a long and glorious history of racism.
Yes, they do.
In Ferguson?
Yeah,
They do.
But what I'm saying is, so what Beef is asking is, if you know that you're up against an overtly racist police force. You shouldn't have to fucking decide that sitting at home I can't go out tonight.
You shouldn't have
any
to.
fucking hour of the night you
Keith
want.
also understands what reality is,
right?
And he's
how he can control
as he is, which is someone who's very strongly feeling about individual responsibility. He's going to do what he needs to do,
but
not to get involved with that.
His
but at the
perspective
same
is
time,
almost-
I think that he is smarter than the majority of Americans who don't even think about that stuff.
Guys,
I
I
get
know
that.
there's racial issues going on in this world. I don't turn a blind eye to it, but I decreased my exposure to negative outcomes by how I behave, what I do, and what I say. It's not perfect, guys. I know this is not a perfect world. We're not going to all join hands and start singing Kumbaya. However,
I'll sing with you.
I know you would. But the likelihood of me being exposed to any kind of negative or traumatic experience through law enforcement, I have control over that. I have control over that by how I drive, which I'm not a good driver. I have a lead foot, where I am, and who I'm with.
Keith, you dropped some serious wisdom there, because it's all coming back to personal behavior, personal attitude, knowing the realities, and changing your own behavior to fit
I just get
the
tired
realities.
of the "it's because I'm black" bullshit.
Okay.
Well, but still, that's
Stop the
some of the
fuckery.
stuff. That's some of the stuff that gets me fucking annoyed, because I get reality, I get all that, but it breaks my heart to think of my friend having to think about that before he goes out to.
It's called
to get,
driving black. There's
Yeah.
also walking black.
It
in
happens.
Ferguson.
So
Yeah.
All right, guys. We could either go
Thank you,
another
guys.
45 minutes and do a part 2, or we're going to shut this down. It's already too long.
Absolutely.
Keith is leaving, so.
Yeah. There's
Yeah, we're
nothing
done.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keith Jeffery Consulting is your company.
Yes.
Guys, look it up. What he does is works on re-entry for people that
Felons.
are coming out, felons that are coming out of prison. And this is such an important thing to do, is work on getting these people back into the economy, back into society. So the whole point of prison is supposed to be you do your sentence and you're rehabilitated.
But that's not the truth of it.
No, you're barred from public life.
And if you want to decrease crime, the best way is to get the criminals to be able to start doing something else.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I want to save the meat of K. Jeffery Consulting because I'm going to come back on the show.
Okay.
But I wanted to bring some new information in regards to contracts in Arizona. And I also want all the listeners to go get a book called Sunbelt Justice. It's about the Arizona Department of Corrections and how mass incarceration fueled our economy here in Arizona for 65 years. I'll be back, guys.
Awesome, Keith. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to have you.
Yeah.
Want to say thank you to Kevin Ketchum for the extra microphone and equipment. Thank you to Bo Spartan on Facebook for putting our show on his SoundCloud page. Check it out. It's called New Music Sound Circus. Is his show where he puts 10 new songs every week, kind of makes a radio broadcast out of it, and it's really cool, guys. What else is there? Next week we have Greg Prill. He's a brilliant guy. We're going to talk about paranormal experiences research, consciousness research, and whatever else comes up, guys. I want to keep this more conversational than structured. And thank you for listening. Click like on YouTube. Leave a comment. It helps a lot. Share the show on your social media if you enjoyed it. That's all I ask, and that makes a big difference. We're going to have some really exciting shows, too, coming up after that with really unique people that I've come into contact with. Guys, thanks for listening. Have a great night. Bye.
Later.
Bye.